What's up, everybody? Welcome to a new YouTube video. My name is Kate Wamuku, and how about we talk about plants today? So I love to garden, and I usually talk about that most especially on Instagram stories on Saturdays. I have this thing going on called Shamba Saturdays where I share about my gardening journey, everything I'm learning, everything I'm growing, and just the ins and outs of gardening. And I thought it would be very interesting today to do a video where we talk about herbs that you could grow, especially if you're a beginner or if you like low maintenance plants. Herbs could grow in your pots or in your garden depending on where you live. And yeah, just to guide you through the conditions for growing them, whether you can grow them from seed or just from cuttings, whether you can grow them in pots. And also I'm going to share recipes in which, or pairings of foods and ingredients you can use with the specific herbs. So the four herbs we're going to talk about today are oregano, rosemary, mint, and parsley. Those four. Yeah, stick around for the entire video.
The first herb we're going to talk about today is rosemary. Now, rosemary is a Mediterranean herb in the mint family. Yes, in the mint family. And it's really popular in cooking because it imparts a lot of flavor to whatever you use it in. I, for one, really enjoy using it in cooking. I use it very often. So I always have some growing outside, either in a container like this, in a pot, or directly in the garden. That's one of the reasons why I find it really easy to grow rosemary, because you can either grow it in a pot or in the garden and it will fare really well, depending on your living circumstances. Two, it is very drought resistant, so it does not require a lot of watering, once, twice, thrice a week, and it's fine. Three, the more you use your rosemary, the bigger it grows, which is, in my opinion, is a win-win situation. Now, for propagation of rosemary, you can either grow it from seed, and you can use a cutting. And the technique with this is to cut the young shrubs, the ones that are not too woodsy, and you cut it with a knife or scissors, and you make sure that you cut a very straight line, and then you strip off the bottom leaves from the cutting, and you dip the cutting in water and leave it there. And after another couple of weeks, the rosemary will have sprouted some roots, and then you can regrow it in another container or in your garden. One more thing is that you make sure that once you have your rosemary plant, you put it in a spot where it gets a lot of sunlight, because it thrives in a lot of sunlight. So make sure you put it in a place where it gets 4 to 6 hours of sunlight, or sunlight throughout the day. Parsley is another herb that is actually really easy to grow. Now, the variety I have here is Italian parsley, or flat leaf parsley. If you look at its leaves, it actually looks similar to dhania or coriander leaves or carrot leaves or celery leaves. Similar to rosemary, you can actually grow it either in a pot or directly in your garden. It is fairly drought resistant. For the larger mature plants, I actually get away with watering them maybe once every 2 weeks. For the little plants, I water them maybe once or twice a week. This is from overwatering your parsley plant. What happens is they begin to yellow, and once you see them yellowing, you know that you're overwatering them. Parsley loves the sunshine, so make sure you've planted it in a spot where it gets maybe 6 to 8 hours of sunshine a day. Once you do that, you'll actually realize that it has a very strong, nice aroma. Now, the more you cut your parsley, the more it grows. Like you can see, my little plant here has little shoots at the bottom. You can actually grow your parsley from seed, from seedlings, or from cuttings. I cannot demonstrate with my plant here, unfortunately, because it's a bit too big, but I've had success in separating the roots of a really young parsley plant with the shoots and the roots in place, regrowing that, and having this really large, now overgrown parsley plant resulting from it. Oregano is another herb that is really easy to grow. Now, it is an Italian herb. It's really versatile as well. I enjoy using it in cooking, but I must confess I've not used it as much as I should, given that it's growing right outside. Similar to rosemary and parsley, it's fairly drought resistant, so you don't have to water it as often, maybe once or twice a week. You can also grow it in a pot or directly in the garden, like I have here. And it also enjoys a lot of sunshine, so make sure you plant it in a spot where it gets maximum sunshine throughout the day. You can grow oregano from a seed or a seedling, or you can go the propagation route where you cut off a cutting, strip off the bottom leaves, dip that part in water, and keep it there for about 2 weeks, and it will root and you'll have a whole new oregano plant. Mint was actually the first herb I grew in my garden. I was fascinated by the fact that you can actually grow herbs and make tea out of herbs. So I got a cutting from someone, grew it in the garden, directly in the garden, and that is when I discovered it actually takes over the whole garden. So that's my first tip. When you grow it, make sure you contain it somewhere. Otherwise, just grow it somewhere where you don't mind it taking over the whole garden, because it forms a whole network of roots and it's really hard to get rid of once it settles in. Mint actually really loves a lot of water, so whenever you see the soil is dry, make sure you water it. Make sure you also plant mint in a spot where it gets a lot of sunshine. So maybe some hours of the day it can get some shade, maybe in the morning, and then in the afternoon you get some of that afternoon sunlight. You can actually grow mint from seedling, or you can go the propagation route where you get a cutting, strip off the bottom leaves, put that in water and let it root, maybe in a few days, and then you'll have a whole new plant once you plant that in the soil. It's really simple. One more thing you should look out for when planting your herbs is that you should not overwater them. I'm just demonstrating that using this dania plant. When you overwater them, they turn yellow, and how to remedy that is not to water them until the soil is dry to the touch. You should also not underwater your plants. What happens obviously is they'll dry up and possibly die, so look out for that. The formation of buds and flowers on your herbs actually signifies the end of your plant's life cycle. So what you do in order to prevent your plant from dying is to cut them off as soon as possible so that they don't die. Now you can also just leave them there so that they grow into seeds, and then you'll have seeds for planting for the next planting season. Like I've said, I've not really utilized my oregano plant like I should, considering it's just growing outside. So one of the few ways I use it is I use it in my eggs. I use it in tomato-based dishes because it goes really well with tomatoes. I usually pair oregano with rosemary as well because they work well together. So in recipes like beef stews, chicken stews, gizzards and stuff like that, I usually pair them together and they work really well together. Rosemary is my most used herbs out of these four, and I've used it in so many ways. I've used it with potatoes, in making bread, in kachumbari, in salads, in it pairs really well with beans, so I've used it in bean stews and in making githeri. I put it in my eggs, I use it in curries, I use it in githeri. Like, the options are really endless with rosemary. It's very, 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 very versatile. I will admit I've only used parsley as a garnish in most foods, but there are so many other ways you can use it. You can use it in salads. You can also use it as a flavor base in stews, especially meat stews. You can use it in tomato recipes. You can use it to make pesto. Again, the options are really, really endless. Apart from using mint to make tea, you can also use it in chicken, in meat stews, in salad to make salad dressing, in soups. It pairs really well with peas. You can also use it to make syrup for your cocktails and mocktails. Mint as well has a lot of versatile uses, and it's such a good herb to have in your garden. I hope you've learned something from this video, whether it's a few takeaways of how you can plant specific herbs in your garden or how you can pair them in your kitchen with whatever ingredients you have. I intend to make more detailed videos on these specific herbs and others that I have growing in my kitchen, and I hope you stick around for those. Otherwise, thank you so very much for watching to the end, and see you on the next one.
Yeah. So today we are going to talk about parsley, mint, oregano, and rosemary. Okay.